Beneath a sky that seems, at first glance, to be calmly spinning on its axis, the global political economic system is quietly broadcasting increasingly urgent SOS signals. The great hot pot of international power politics is boiling furiously, and this time the spiciest, most dangerous ingredients have risen to the surface. At the center of today's story is Chen Xi, a man once praised as a philanthropic prince and a model entrepreneur of Cambodia, but who in reality stood at the helm of a vast transnational fraud empire. His sudden logout from the Cambodian server and forced transfer back to China was not merely a criminal arrest, it was a geopolitical shockwave, exposing how brutally the rules of the global game have changed. To grasp the weight of this event, imagine for a moment that you are Nicolas Maduro, president of Venezuela, a man who commands the military, sits atop the world's largest oil reserves, and is accustomed to breathing out authority and shouting orders that reshape reality. You believe yourself untouchable, convinced that warnings from Washington are nothing more than diplomatic bluster. Then, without warning, Uncle Sam switches on Fox Hunting Mode, VIP Pro Max Edition. No more tweets, no more stern resolutions or press statements, just the cold snap of steel handcuffs. The message could not be clearer. There are no forbidden zones. When even a sitting president can be dragged into the spotlight, Nyak Oknya, tycoons, and power brokers in smaller states suddenly realize how fragile they really are. The Maduro shock sent a powerful psychological ripple across Southeast Asia. Political elites began to feel a chill run down their spines. The rules had changed. Once the U.S. Department of Justice opens a file and stamps an indictment, the throne you sit on becomes little more than cardboard in the path of a geopolitical storm. As global tempests gathered strength, drama closer to home in Southeast Asia was no less intense. Thailand and Cambodia, two neighbors often described as sharing a father but not a grandfather, found themselves snarling not over cultural trivia or who cooks the most authentic tom yum, but over a rice bowl worth trillions of dollars, the shadow economy of online scams, gambling, and money laundering. Thailand's decision to forcibly place the notorious fraud kingpin She Zhijiang on a plane back to Beijing, despite billion-dollar efforts to buy his way out, was a slap straight across the face of anyone who believed that second or third passports were talismans of invincibility. The unspoken message sent to Phnom Penh was unmistakable. I've cleaned up my mess, your turn. Cambodia was pushed into a corner. To remain silent or continue shielding criminals would brand the country as a dumping ground for internationally wanted fugitives. And so the fate of Chen Xi was sealed. From a media-crafted philanthropic prince, he was exposed as the final boss of a fraud empire valued at roughly 15 billion USD. He was no petty scammer making tearful phone calls about fake emergencies. Chen Xi represented an entire system, an ideology of manipulation, psychological engineering, image fabrication, and large-scale money laundering. His audacity was such that even legendary financial risk-takers might have nodded in reluctant admiration. Born in Husen, China, a cradle of overseas Chinese entrepreneurs, Chen Xi did not choose the familiar path of opening a restaurant or a corner shop. Instead, he chose Cambodia as his promised land. There, he perfected the role of a patriotic businessman and generous benefactor, a man bringing capital and development dreams to a capital-hungry nation. Under his sculpting hands, Prince Group grew into a colossal octopus, its tentacles reaching into nearly every corner of the Cambodian economy. Walk through Phnom Penh or Sihanoukville, and the Prince logo appears with such frequency it rivals photos of an ex-lover in your phone gallery. With money and connections, Chen Xi was granted the title of Nyak Oknya and became a close advisor to Husen and later to Hun Manet. In public, he was the image of a young, successful entrepreneur, funding charities, building schools, sponsoring events. Behind the scenes, however, the meat grinder known as Prince Group was running at full capacity. Chen Xi's immense wealth did not come from airline tickets or benevolent lending. It flowed from the brutal industry known as pig butchering or transnational telecom fraud. According to U.S. Department of Justice indictments, Chen Xi was not a distant figurehead. He personally managed ledgers, tracked revenues across different scam operations, and oversaw laundering networks. Victims' money, mostly USD and cryptocurrencies, was funneled through layers of cold wallets, mixing services, and underground exchanges to scrub it clean. The staggering figure of 15 billion USD, seized by U.S. authorities, marked the largest asset forfeiture in DOJ history, exceeding the GDP of many small nations. It laid bare the monstrous scale of the empire Chen Xi had built. The day of reckoning arrived not with Hollywood explosions, but with quiet efficiency. A crucial legal maneuver came first. Cambodia's Ministry of Interior discreetly revoked Chen Xi's citizenship. As a Cambodian national, extradition was constitutionally impossible. Once stripped of citizenship, however, he became a foreigner, and expelling him was as easy as throwing out a bag of trash. The raid itself was swift, coordinated between Cambodia's royal police and Chinese special forces who had been present for months under the banner of security cooperation. No shots were fired. Chen Xi understood that once the godfathers had nodded, resistance would only lengthen the sentence. Images of Chen Xi being escorted to the airport, hands cuffed, head covered, wedged between two towering Chinese officers, became instantly iconic. A man who once owned an airline and shook hands with top officials was now an unwilling passenger on a one-way flight to Beijing. Waiting for him there was a legal banquet, charges of transnational telecom fraud, illegal gambling operations, and massive money laundering. Under Xi Jinping's China, such crimes receive no mercy. Life imprisonment, or even the death penalty, was no distant possibility. The burning question remains, why did Cambodia turn so swiftly and so coldly? In politics, there are no eternal friendships, only eternal interests. Keeping Chen Xi had become an intolerable liability. Washington had grown tired of gentle diplomatic reminders. The 2024 sanctions against tycoon Lee Yong-pat were a direct warning shot. DOJ branding Prince Group a transnational criminal organization meant that any bank or firm dealing with it risked secondary sanctions. For a heavily dollarized economy like Cambodia's, exclusion from international payment systems would be economic suicide. Hun Manet, Western-educated and acutely aware of these dynamics, understood the math. On top of that came immense pressure from China. Beijing was determined not only to dismantle scam hubs, bleeding its citizens dry, but also to handle Chen Xi itself and reclaim stolen assets rather than letting the U.S. dominate the narrative and the spoils. Extraditing Chen Xi to China was a masterstroke. It appeased Beijing while avoiding the risk of Chen Xi spilling sensitive secrets to the FBI. The Hun family has long been known for political pragmatism. When Chen Xi generated investment and cash flow, he was family. When he became a political debt, he was discarded without sentiment. Hun Manet is attempting to brand himself as a reformist leader, eager to attract high-quality investment from Japan, South Korea, and the West. Cambodia can no longer afford the stigma of being labeled a criminal haven. Yet no one should celebrate too early. Chen Xi's fall does not signal the end of online fraud. As Prince Group collapses, smaller gangs will fragment, adapt, and migrate to Laos, the Golden Triangle, Africa, or the Middle East. The war between fox hunters and fox breeders will drag on like an endless TV drama. The lesson for us, the observers and potential victims, is painfully simple. There is no such thing as a free lunch. There are no easy jobs with high pay, no online CEO lovers inviting you to invest in crypto out of sudden affection. Stay alert. or you may find yourself fattened up, waiting to be slaughtered. Thank you for watching this story. If you found it meaningful, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video. And now it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for staying with Societal Stories.